Faces, friends, places, years and moments half forgotten, laughs, fears, songs and tears, memories are made of this. I remember how cold it was in Britain that winter of 1929. Cold and wet, with far more than its share of snow. I know, what winter isn't? Fog and sea mist around a house on the front at Bognor. A house with a guarding policeman under constant watch. I remember the London crowds outside Buckingham Palace, waiting for news. Lung trouble, the doctors had said. The bulletins, a fresh improvement in the general condition, signed Lord Dawson of Penn. Then that closed car moving down the wet lanes towards the south coast, towards that house at Bognor, where King George V was to convalesce. Cold, wet and foggy, in somber mood. The same old London being true to form. No weather in which to march to London from South Wales when your boots were thin and your stomach was empty. Hunger marches, signs of the political times. Times when, as always, it seemed that no party had the power to make life acceptable to everybody. I remember a new British government having its face photographed in the garden of number 10 Downing Street, the way they all did. The second Labour government in British history. Prime Minister, yes, that's it, Ramsay MacDonald. As the Colonel said, socialists, and a damned peculiar colour at that, with 5 lords and a viscount in the cabinet. A new government with plenty to face, small majority. Unemployment around the million mark and all that goes with such a situation. Yes, they could smile. For the camera, anyway. London in 1929. Closed-top buses fighting and winning their battle against the open tops. Plenty of the old type still about, though. I remember reading Edgar Wallace on one of those and pulling the tarpaulin cover over me when it rained. That was the kind of discomfort you took no notice of in those days. There were fewer cars and therefore more feet on the pavements, though whether life moved at a slower pace is a moot point. They brought in a gadget called the tote that year. Very popular too, except with the bookmakers. Bets on the machine were cheap then, but as you didn't get paid so much money, I don't suppose there was a lot in it. As for the clothes, they tell me that many of the fashions of that time are back again. Well, if that's true, you can take it that these are the real originals. They don't look very different, but, or do they? England won the Ashes in 1929, and every Englishman knows what that means, even if he doesn't play cricket. Major Seagrave broke the world's land speed record at 232 miles an hour. On the other hand, Malcolm Campbell, going all out with his Bluebird in South Africa, found his luck against him. Even in those days, enthusiasts roared up and down the streets of Monte Carlo in the Monaco Grand Prix. Sterling Moss, a bit early for him, but all the same, a British team won. 2 bright boys crossed the channel on a motorbike, which is one way of doing it. While 2 other characters paced it out to Vienna on stepladders. The exact reason for this escapes me. Then someone brought out a two-way car. Somebody else achieved a lifetime ambition to fly into a house at 70 miles an hour. A steamroller that went by itself. Went is the word. It hasn't been seen again since. But there were more successful achievements. A scientist developed a new drug. Its name, penicillin. His name, Fleming. Muffled drums across the channel in Paris. Bad weather again, giving the right touch to a funeral. Marshal Foch, ex-commander-in-chief of all the Allied armies in the Great War. Who says old soldiers never die? Beatty gone, Haig, Jellicoe. Now it was Foch, biggest man of the biggest war. Perhaps that's why some didn't feel as badly about it as they might. Because burying Foch seemed somehow like burying the war. Well, he's gone, they said, the way they do. The Great War was 10 years over. The war was just memories and a play called Journey's End and scrap in Scapa Flow where the German fleet was so much rust and barnacles. Scuttle rather than surrender, they'd said back in 1919, and they'd gone down in minutes. Took years to get them up just to melt them down. It was strange what came up with them. A ship is so much those who sailed in her, their possessions, their treasures, from tubers to swords, swords for turning into plowshares. The war was 10 years over, but they still had to have a few swords of a kind. The cavalry giving way to, what was the term? Armored vehicles. Quite a blow to some on the retired list and others still in the service. But fashions must change or they wouldn't be fashions, even in the army. And armies were still in fashion. Armies and monarchies. There were still enough kings and princes left in Europe for a deck of cards. King Boris of Bulgaria. Kings and princes in such countries as Yugoslavia, Albania, Romania, and Italy. But who's that under the bowler? Friend or foe? In those days, no one seemed quite sure of Benito Mussolini. All I use is a touch of garlic, but what was cooking was anybody's guess. Mind you, there were a few surprises under other saucepan lids, too. To most people, the Schneider Trophy was just an international air competition. But that shape, winning for Britain against Italy, that was the shape that one day would save a world. The shape of the yet unborn Spitfire. But why would one talk of wars when wars were a thing of the past? Hadn't the Kellogg Pact been signed by all nations outlawing wars once and for all? And if you didn't believe it, there it was, in black and white.